fishing news is brought to you by Interlux Marine Paint, Maxima Fishing Line, and Okuma.
Hey there, Toby Lapinski for the New England edition of the Fisherman magazine with this week's web video fishing forecast for New England. Well, since last checked in, we've had a little bit of every type of weather you could possibly imagine aside from hot beach-going weather. We've had snow, we've had rain, we've had mid-50s, we've had blistering cold, winds, just about, again, all you can see. It's the classic November or December here in New England. It's so cold, don't even know what month it is right now. But you know what, there's still some good fishing going around, and it's a time of the year when the ice fishing faithful begin to come out of the woodwork. And I feel the need to remind everyone to be extra safe when venturing out onto the hard water, especially at the front and the back ends of the season. Now, we have some solid advice for ice fishing safety posted at thefisherman.com, so give it a look before making your first trip of the season. And as I always say, I don't need to be the first guy on the ice, I just want to be here to be the last. All right, moving on to the reports. I'm going to start as always in Connecticut. And well, we had a little tease of ice fishing action late last week going into the weekend that melted away by, for the most part, midday Sunday. There's a few crazies that got out on anywhere from 2 to 4, and really at most I heard was 5 inches of ice in a few of the protected spots around the state. Now for me, that's not quite enough ice, and I'll be holding out a bit longer, instead dedicating my time to working on some of these holdover stripers that we've got around the state. And you know what? I talked to Ian over at Fisherman's World this week, and he said there's a really good bite on those holdover stripers up the Housy. But you know what? There's also fish being landed in the other big rivers, the Connecticut and the Thames, as well as pretty much all the smaller tidal rivers throughout the state. And as Ian was telling me, both fly and spinning gear is working quite well on them right now. And on over in Rhode Island, when the boats can sail, and it's been somewhat limited lately, the cod bite off Block Island is still very, very good. And from the reports I've received in the last week or so, sea bass are making a real noticeable move to the deeper water, and the boats working more south of the island did better on them, while those staying closer to the island and maybe on the east side have found mostly cod. There's still a good amount of bait being seen all around the island and on the ground, so the bite should hold up going forward. And on a somewhat odd note, Tuesday's cod trip on the Francis fleet, I just got their report in, and they saw just shy of 20 weakfish landed to go along with a good catch of cod, sea bass, scup, and large ling. And then lastly, up in Massachusetts, much like the Connecticut report, Bay State anglers saw a brief window of somewhat sketchy ice last week. That was essentially gone by Sunday in the eastern part of the state. But I'm sure that some of the spots in my old haunts out in western Massachusetts are right on the edge of being fishable, with a few likely already producing some fish. And I'd have to imagine that same as we had in Connecticut, that 3, 4, maybe even 5 inch of ice right now in the western part of the state. But keep in mind, the bare minimum of clear black ice that can support the average adult is 2 inches, and you'll need even more than that of white ice, or if you're like me and you bring a lot of gear out onto the hard water with you. All right, well, there you have it. I'm Toby Lapinski for the New England edition of the Fisherman magazine, wishing you tight lines if you head out onto the water this weekend.
The fishing news is brought to you by Interlux Marine Paint, and also brought to you by Maxima Fishing Line.